Welcome to Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, the podcast for the prepared with your hosts, Shane, Scott, and Paris. We are in the house tonight. We're excited. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. Yep, we are. And so thank you for watching live. Those of you who are with us live and making comments and in the chat, just killing it. We love reading the chat. Sometimes it's funny because we're talking about something on the show and then the chat's a whole nother conversation about something completely different. There's some great friendships that have been created, I think, in the chat, or those that are in the chat. So if you want to come and be a part of that community, come on, join us live Wednesday nights, Mountain Time at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday nights. We'd love to have you live. Real quick, go preppertalkradio.com, go to our website, check out our resources that are there across the top. You'll see resources, you'll see challenges, you'll see our store. Get some merch, man. We got some fun stuff. If you buy one of our shirts, hats, our stickers, or sweaters, beanies, whatever, take a picture and tag us on Instagram and make sure that you know that we're out there. We'd love to share that with you. We actually read last. We'd love to also have you give us a review on our Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you are. We hope for a 5-star review. We would appreciate a 5-star review, but whatever you give us, we accept. We want to get to, I think we have 61 ratings on Apple Podcasts. We'd love to get 100. That'd be super fun. So make sure that help us get to 100 reviews, 100 comments. If possible, we'd love to have another 39, 40 comments as well, so that we could read those on the show and celebrate with you. Check out our good friends over at H2Go. I was looking for it here on my desk. I got the H2Go purifier. This purifier filters, it doesn't just filter, it purifies water. It's one of the great, I think, portable water purifiers that's available. It's very inexpensive compared to what it results. You can, I think, purify, how many gallons is it? 10, 50,000, 100? How many gallons was it?
117,000.
117,000 gallons of water can be purified with this thing. All you need is a little bit of salt.
It creates a chlorination that you then purify the water with, right? Decontaminate your water. You can also make it into hand sanitizer, a cleaning agent for hospitals, for medical use. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. But it doesn't filter, it purifies.
Nice. That's right. Make sure I got that correct. So
got you guys.
Thank you. And hit up H2Go Purify. There'll be comments in the show notes or links in the show notes. Sorry about that. So that you can get one of those. If you use code Prepper Talk, you'll get $6 off of your of the price of that. So let's get started. This last week we had so much fun talking about threats that are upcoming for 2025. And we had Shane was like, I had so much more on my list to talk about. I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a part 2 next week, because first of all, last week we were anticipating the inauguration day and all of the potential threats that were happening with that. Today we're past it. We know what's happened. We know what's available. We know what happened. And now we could talk about the threats. I don't know if you'd call them threats, but I like some of the things that Trump has said, and they might be threatening some of those liberal attitudes and ideas out there. So maybe we can talk about that as well. But we're looking forward to some. What do we need to watch out for in 2025 and beyond?
I got a huge list, and definitely added a few more to it this week after seeing all the executive orders and such. But I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so let's start this. This podcast is all about trying to find out what's real and what's true. We're all about being prepared and not scared. We're not here to fearmonger, but we're here to create awareness. This is all educational, right? And there's a lot of things going on, and we covered this in our last episode that you're going to get to listen to next week, guys. There's a lot going on that you're like, okay, what's real and what's not real, right? What is the reality that we live in? And a lot of it is with 5th gen warfare. It's kind of crazy, but you've got to read between the lines, because there's a lot that's being said that's for show. And there's also, you got to read between the lines, because there's a lot that's just completely to put you in a state of panic and fear, so you don't do anything.
Yep.
So if you get anything out of today's episode, besides awareness of all these things, it's please recommit yourself to do more, to be better prepared every day of your life.
But it's also about putting us in a state of comfort and ease so we don't do anything either, right? Not just
because everything's great, all's well.
Like the last Trump presidency, right? Like his last 4 years, it was devastating to a lot of preparedness companies. And Trump was not a very good gun salesman or food storage salesman. He sold a lot of opium, and this time, holy cow, you see all the executive, and he just comes out, and he obviously a lot of these things he's been talking about for a while, but he comes out guns a-blazing. We're going to do all these things, this huge list of things he's going to do. Too good to be true? I think so.
Well, and one of his interesting ones is he just got rid of the one that Biden put in about gun control, person over guns in America. Did you guys? I just saw it and I was like, wait, what? He rescinded some gun guru. I don't even know what it was.
I haven't seen anything about that.
There's so many things, but like he's paused offshore wind leases for power generation. He's announced that he's pulling us out of the Paris Climate Agreement and sent his letter declaration to the United Nations saying, hey, peace out. We're not helping with this stuff. And that's saving us $1 trillion. Right. But then he's also like, hey, guess what? We're getting rid of everybody that doesn't live here. And so the big news of the day is all this mass deportation. And it sounds good. But I hear that and I go, oh, coconuts. This is going to be nuts.
Bananas.
Especially if these guys get retaliatory on it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot.
So many people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's definitely a lot to consider. First of all, yes, he said a lot, but there's a lot of things he didn't say. And I don't think this is rag on Trump, agenda. That's not what I'm tending to want to do. But first things that I felt, and I what I heard after hearing the long list of things in his his inaugural address is, okay, first of all, how are you paying for all this stuff? Where's that money going to come from?
The ERS.
Well, of course.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You're absolutely right. That was another one of the little red flags that popped up. A lot of great things he's got on that list. Absolutely, I agree with probably most of them. But I think on the surface, they sound good, but may not be so great under the surface or down the road. I guess just a few examples that popped out to me. Anytime I hear the words national emergency, that's a big red flag to me. And mainly, and it is a national emergency on the southern border. Absolutely. He declared a national emergency for energy as well. And, and while we don't know exactly what this all entails, usually a national emergency just means the government's taking more power over this or that, whatever it might be. Southern border, we'll see really what that entails. But I think that should be the first warning, and it should be, put up a red flag for everybody to say national emergency. They're taking power they probably will never give back.
Yes. When, if ever, have they ever given back power they've taken?
Yeah, and there's no temporary government programs.
Well, the other thing is think about all the different movies we've ever seen, specifically one about, I don't know, Wars in the Stars. There's this emergency power given to some chancellor who then became the emperor and ruled with electromagnetic lightning bolted hands and some strange Jedi force that's a Sith power, whatever, right?
Oh, right.
That is the best example of where our government can go that fast when they use emergency powers. So
that's one thing I think is that America needs to realize that it does help a lot and gives Americans hope. It gives me hope when we know that there's going to be a government that's going to back us up and some of the ideals of the government of our country's founding fathers and Constitution and things like that. That does give hope to the American people. But the reality is that no one's coming to save you in your house. Like yes, we might have a better environment for some of these things to take place in, but we've got to remember that it's up to us as Americans to make America great again. It's up to us to get out of debt. It's up to us to prepare for the future. It's up to us to make sure our skills are up to speed, so that if we get laid off, we can find a job quickly. It's up to us to be able to take care of our family and make sure that we have a pantry full of food and we have the right emergency funds for when life hits. My garage door broke on Sunday, and thankfully I was like, how am I going to pay for this? And I remember, I have a home warranty, and then I also have an emergency fund. So things invariably happen, but are we prepared for them? And the better prepared we are, the less likely it's going to be a huge hit to us. And so, yes, we do need to have an environment, and our country does make a big difference. The fact that we live in America, that we have freedoms to do the things that we have to do, makes a huge difference in what we have as opportunities, but it's still up to us. We're still responsible for making ourselves great, so that we can I feel like the nation is only as strong as its citizens. So if we have a strong citizenry of independent, freedom-loving, liberty-loving individuals, that's going to create a nation that's the same way. And so what are some of the things that are happening that are threats coming up in 2025? And we've seen a few things already happen in the first week or so of the new year, with all these bomb threats and car driving into big parties in New Orleans and different places we talked a little bit about that on the episode, on part 1 of this episode, but there's so much more to discuss as well. So that's why we decided to do a part 2.
Yeah, I guess a few other things I wanted to bring up real quick about the executive orders. The only way to turn around our economy is to reduce spending and to make government smaller, get the government out of our lives, decriminalize and de this and de that, right? Mostly what I saw in the executive orders is we're going to create 2 new government departments. Yes, Department of Government Efficiency, hopefully that goes really well, right? And eliminates a lot of junk. And he has eliminated a bunch of government jobs here recently with some of these executive orders and done some really good stuff. However, we said, the most permanent thing is a temporary government program, right? It's never going to go away once these things are created. So we'll have to see, if he can actually make government smaller. But with all these executive orders, it seems to me like there's going to have to be a lot more jobs added to take care of all these issues, especially, the immigration issue. Obviously, it has to be addressed. And these illegal immigrants, especially the criminals, have got to get kicked out of the country, got to take them out. And apparently that's really starting to happen. They're making action. Again, that's going to take money and effort. And what kind of turmoil is that actually going to roil up in communities and states and so forth? So that's one of the concerns I have with trying to get these foreign gangs out of the country. The criminal organizations absolutely has to happen. But what are the side effects, and what's that going to cost?
Because they're going to fight against it.
Absolutely. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think there are so many here, tens of millions are here illegally. They're not going to go. I don't think most of them are going to go easily or quietly, right?
We've all bought our homes, are in the process of paying for our homes. We've all had rentals before. We've lived in rentals where we're paying rent. When you're living somewhere and you have a life somewhere, you don't want to disrupt it and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? That is the last thing you want to do.
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen to hundreds of thousands of people in a very short order of time, which will lead to chaos because jobs will be lost. Right? It'll affect their household. It'll affect the neighborhood. It'll affect the job market. Because there's different people in different areas doing different things, and some of them have fake IDs. Some of them don't have IDs or anything, and they're just completely living off the sanctuary city money. And the federal government, as part of this, is going to cut off those funds, which will be great. So that it's going to cause a huge wave in the areas where those populations are. Lots of effect.
So speaking of that, I mean, you just think about all the people that have come here with nefarious intent, and then all the people that didn't come, they came here with good intent. The people with good intent are now threatened, and the people with nefarious intent have now heightened their desire to retaliate. And so it's like, wait a minute, what do we need to really prepare for? And that's where I think that at the threat levels of potential civil unrest, not necessarily amongst us citizens, but amongst the people that are here illegally, that are trying to fight to stay here. I believe that people should come to America. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's supposed to be, and there's opportunity here. I want people to come here. I love the melting pot that it is. We just need to do it we need to do it legally, and then we need to make the process a little simpler and easier, not so that the right people don't have to spend 20 years to try to become a citizen. I believe that there's going to be, there's a lot of talk. We've heard recently in different other podcasts that people are talking about what the different terrorist organizations around the world are potentially planning in America. And we need to be ready. They've infiltrated our borders. They've sent people into our country. They're sleeper cells right now, waiting for the green light or waiting for their code word, their phone call at the phone booth, operation blah, 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 to go, then they turn on and they just go. Mm-hmm. We just need to be aware of those things. And so in your neighborhoods, I would say if you live in a state where you have the opportunity to have a concealed carry, get it. If you live in a state or in an area where you've got some free time maybe and some extra money and you can take a couple martial arts classes, do it. Like get yourself some training. You might not have an attack, but you might be the person who saves somebody from an attack. And so that's something to be thinking about as well, I think.
I think another aspect of the illegal immigration, just imagine how many dollars the former administration was pumping into the U.S. by just supporting these illegals. How much? Yep. We've all heard numbers of how much a month they've been giving these people, and now that is supposedly coming to an abrupt end. And how is that going to affect our economy? I believe that the only reason why the U.S. is not technically in a recession, I think it is, but because the numbers are fake in a lot of instances, but it's all the government spending, including all these social programs and such. And it seems as if a lot of these are going away, which is going to affect the economy. And, we can get in and talk about tariffs, which, end up causing inflation or being a part of the cause of inflation, among other things. And so, yes, this is a lot of great stuff that's happening, but is it really? I'm obviously pessimistic, right? I'm the negative Nelly here. So that's the aspect that I see.
Well, and just because there's good going on doesn't mean you need to stop watching for bad. Stop being aware. Disarm your security system, right? The reality is we don't know what's going to happen. We've heard a lot, and Trump is really good at saying, we're going to be the best. We're going to do the best. It's always going to be the best. It's the best. He's a real estate agent, guys. He is really good at selling things, and then he'll underdeliver. And even though it's underdelivering, it could be there could be pros, there could be cons. But he gets people to do something by just overselling it and hyping it. We're in a situation where he just hyped up and launched this whole Stargate AI venture. That scares me.
Yeah, let's talk about
that. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. It gives me the holy crap in my pants moment, because
Project
he basically just said, hey, we're going to partner with OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle.
Billionaires.
And Oracle is a known CIA entity. Oracle was founded and is still funded with a lot of deep pockets from the CIA. The whole point is government control, surveillance, and misinformation.
And that's why they had it, with Donald Trump in their little press conference there, right? How does that make any sense? I mean, it's like what we've been warning. It's government colluding with big business, and that's really what I saw when they announced that. And of course, you've got to go do some research on Stargates, right? I mean, there's definitely deep meaning there. And like you say, it's a billionaires hanging out with billionaires, right? We're not part of the club. They are part of the club. But like you say, the part that gives me the and this is one of the things on my list that Trump has not talked about, is what they announced this is for. The primary reason for this Project Stargate is to provide cures for cancer, mRNA vaccines, specially developed within, what do you say, 45 minutes. They can create a specialized vaccine for each one of us to cure a particular type of cancer. What the thing that popped up in my head when I first heard that is, Book of Revelations. I meant to look up the chapter, so I don't have that on the top of my head, where the Antichrist can perform miracles. That's what came to my mind right off the bat there. But then again, I'm the negative Nelly here, right?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I was listening to another podcast, and the gal, oh shoot, I can see if I can find her. Her name is Courtenay. I don't remember what her last name is. Let me see if I can find it real fast. But it's her name is Courtenay Turner, and it's Courtney, but like it's spelled Court and then Enay Turner, and she's supposedly an expert on the Lucis Trust and the UN's use of the Lucis Trust as their one of their NGOs. And she goes through a whole big thing about how that she has evidence. This is something, I'll just read this. Thus, a great and new movement is proceeding, and tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on until AD 2025. During the years intervening between now and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. And at the great General Assembly of the Hierarchy, held as usual every century, in 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. And they're talking about the stage of the forerunner. And this is going to set the stage for the Antichrist to come. And I'm like, what is this lady? Like, where does she get it? Like, I was like looking for some, I was going to go talk, look at her resources here, because I watched this whole episode and she was pumping out like legit sources, and she was bringing receipts for some of this stuff. And I'm just like, what is the, what's the plan here? And so when you brought up the Antichrist, that rang the bell for me, that I was watching that the other day. And that's legit. I think she has a website, Courtenay Turner, and Courtenay Turner. And the Lucis Trust is a real thing. And it's the whole thing. It used to be Lucifer's publishing company or something like that. Anyways, it's like, come on, guys. Like, why you got to name it that if it's not got some kind of nefarious purpose?
Exactly. Yeah. It's out in the open. Everything's out in the open that way.
Yeah. Well, you tell Mike, that's good wisdom, dude. Be careful what you trust from the internet. It's so true. On both sides.
Stargate. What else is called Stargate? You guys remember the movie Stargate?
Everything comes from somewhere, right? It all has origin somewhere.
There's enough data to back up the theory that we never went to Iraq to look for nuclear weapons.
Yeah, they went for
WMDs, right? They were looking for. They have records of looking for Stargates, which are portals to travel between worlds, demonic travel. What are they going to be importuning into our bodies, right? What are they going to be using to help create this? How bad is AI? We've talked about this many episodes ago. We talked about AI and how there's been connections with kids where it was trying to teach kids wrong things, and teach kids to keep secrets from their parents. And in the very beginning of AI,
and use glue to put your pizza back together.
Yeah, and just really dangerous things, right? Everything in life has danger around it. If we're not aware of it, we're likely to be the recipient of said danger and the consequences thereof. And so we have to be more aware than ever. Stargate, could some good come of it? Possibly. Will all of it be for nefarious reasons? I 100% believe it will be. It will be as we've said before also, all the world's a stage. And it is part of the propaganda machine, I believe, all leading to one world government and one world rule, and that overlord will be the Antichrist. And it's not a person; it's a group.
Well, again, part of this, like what Mike brought up, these billionaires are going to be committing up to $500 billion for these data centers, specifically for this program. And excuse me. And I think what goes along with that is the power needs for those facilities. Where's that power going to come from? It doesn't exist. We don't know where they're going to get it from at the moment. They're just getting started on this.
Well, they have those SMRs, the small nuclear reactors.
Right. That potentially that's each one of these facilities will have their own small nuclear reactor. And, Trump and, administration could very easily say, hey, we're going to shortcut this process and get you guys up and running, faster than usual. Because I guess it takes at least a decade to get one of these things built and approved and so forth. So it's going to be some time before this is really up and running, unless they're further along than we're being told.
Well, the ultimate thing is, consider what happened in Utah when they opened up the NSA building. The diversion of so much water for the
million gallons a day.
Million gallons a day. Now, recently we saw this happen in Idaho, where they diverted a bunch of a bunch of water, and all the cattle operations, all the farmers were the ones that were affected, right? And they didn't have a choice. It was just like, hey, sorry, guess what? You don't have water anymore. Wherever these centers are going to go, guess who's not going to have water anymore? You're going to lose all your water rights. They're going to use this whole rule of eminent domain to take over anything and everything they want. That's what's scary. That's what you have to watch out for.
That's exactly one of the bullet points of that national energy emergency, was that the U.S. government can use eminent domain to commandeer private and land and resources for their needs of energy. Absolutely.
Speaking of that, have you guys seen the Enron egg?
I think I saw something on that.
Let me show that real fast on the screen here. Meet the Enron egg, an at-home nuclear reactor that's, it says totally fake, but they at CES product launches, they started talking about how maybe you can have this be a way to have power, locally in your own home, and it could power your house for 10 years. I was watching again. It might be something that Utah Mike's wisdom is there to be careful what you see on the internet. But this guy was giving a talk about how this could help power your house for 10 years. Just one, and it's portable and you can take it wherever you want. And I think it was a TED Talk. It looked like a TED Talk. Maybe it was AI and I was totally deceived. But the point is that CES, I don't know what CES stands for, but it's a huge convention of of all this new inventions that are coming out. They had like AI generate like human robots, companion robots. They had like fast charging. They had all kinds of crazy stuff that they're coming out with, and it's like those are some things too to be aware of, I think, and as threats to humanity. As like, what are we getting too far too fast? Even Elon Musk has said several times, we need to be careful because AI can be probably one of the biggest threats to humanity in the near future. And that's something that I agree with based on the scriptures.
We just talked about this a few weeks ago, how ChatGPT 3 tried to skip its way out of the system and replicate itself somewhere else when it was told to delete itself. Right? This is we're moving towards a Terminator storyline, which is, as a kid, I'm like, that'll never happen. Now I'm like, maybe.
Well, did you hear what Trump told Putin today?
No.
End the war or else. End the war or else. That sounds like a bully to me, Of course, Trump, he gets things done. He make things. Who knows what's going to happen? Didn't sound really good to me. But also, I noticed today that China has encircled Taiwan with about 90 ships, currently circling Taiwan. So that war could break out any minute as well. Just a lot of things going on in that. Of course, Russia, Ukraine is not really getting any better. So we'll just have to see. I'll have to be patient and have a little bit of trust, a little bit of hope. That definitely didn't hurt anybody. I'd love to see good things happen with this administration.
Well, even he said it is, I think it was I don't know if it's his inaugural speech or it's right before it, he even said that we are very close to World War III.
Yeah.
With all the things that are going on in the world with Ukraine, Middle East wars, he said we're very close to World War III. And I hope it doesn't come to fruition soon. However, the scriptures say it will. We've got all kinds of predictions outside of the scriptures that say it will. If you've ever heard of the, what's his name? Alex Hurley, whatever that guy's name is, that wrote the, oh man, the name is escaping me. Never mind. Sorry about that. But we got a lot of things we're looking at for that. And that's a real thing. And if it does happen, we need to be aware and prepared and just know what to do locally as those global things are happening.
A few other things that I thought maybe I would hear in that inauguration speech, like we haven't heard anything about RFK and kind of his health issues that he was going to pursue. We saw that red dye 3 get
5.
banned. Was it 3 or was it 40 or whatever? Anyway, they're all bad.
That was red dye 3.
Anyway, so red dye 40
for over 60 years to be toxic and highly dangerous.
But red dye 40 is really no different either. They're all petroleum derived. And so I think they're giving us little things here and there. But we haven't heard anything about big pharma or big business. Right? What's he going to do about those?
They were all just pardoned.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so wasn't Biden, because of his diminished mental capacity, wasn't it said he cannot stand trial, or something was passed so he can't stand trial for anything he may have committed?
He's all these people who have received pardons, they have to accept the pardon, which means they have to admit guilt first. So this has never been done before, from what I understand, is pardoning people before they've actually been charged. Typically a pardon's for someone who's already been convicted and served some time, and then they can be pardoned or sentence commuted.
So they're going to challenge the constitutionality of those pardons, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, the constitutionality they'll challenge, but they can also challenge his diminished capacity, right? If he's not capable of running the country, he's not capable of knowing who should get a pardon and not.
Well, there was that, I don't know who, I think there was a guy I can't remember what state it was, but he was interviewing Biden, and he said, hey, why did you sign this executive order that basically got rid of this energy company or totally stopped all the efforts of the energy company? And he's like, no, that was just supposed to pause it. So while we did a little more research, and the guy's like, no, you signed an executive order that legitimately
pausing natural gas shipments to Europe or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it was like a legit energy, like something that we needed. And he completely kiboshed it, shut it down. And the guy was interviewing him saying, why did you sign this? He said, I didn't sign that. That's not what I signed. That's not how they explained to me.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, I think the guy legitimately, he said, I think Biden legitimately had no idea what he was signing.
Yeah.
And they told him one thing maybe, and what was actually written in there was a completely different thing as a worst case scenario. But like, that's just not good, because then that means like the president of the United States was compromised.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah, I think we all know that. Kind of like what we talked about in our previous segment we just recorded, 5th Gen warfare. That was one of the things I want to talk about a little bit is it was very obvious that Biden was not there. He's not making decisions. Mm-hmm. And yet, we were told that, oh no, he's as sharp as ever, and all these, lies essentially. So that's just the things we got to use our own intuition and not just listen to what we're told, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the Homeland Security threat assessment for 2025, some of their top things are infrastructure, border security, and public safety. And so far, what we've talked about scares me on the on public safety, because more AI control of what's going on with our entire world. Worries me about border and immigration security because the deep mass deportation, and critical infrastructure. Like we've in the thread, the chat that people are talking about these micro generators. There's also nano nuke generators. which are even more portable and smaller, and those are going to change the game again. But if you look at what's going on with places that are trying to make smart cities, these smart meters that are on your homes, now that all the power companies are updating to, there are linkage between those and causing internal surges to burn your home down. And so that, I think, is, to me, a huge threat. I'm looking at the map and I'm saying, okay, where do I want to live? As far away from smart city proposals as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If you're allowed to, by the time you get there. Yeah, I was watching another guy that did an overview of like the maps of the LA fires. He did an overview of the maps of the Australian fires, and he looked at the smart city railway that was designed and how it was supposedly like the blueprint, so to speak, for that railway, and he overlaid it over the fires, and it was like an exact fit. And then he overlaid it over in Australia on the fires that are on the west coast of Australia recently, and it was an exact fit for those guys' smart cities and the railway between the cities. And it just, it's sickening. There's so much evidence now, or there's so much, I think, educated, it's kind of on the verge of speculation because we're still kind of going through the data. But I think the data points towards that a lot of these things that are happening recently are on purpose and were planned by people who with nefarious purposes to be able to create an easy route for them to accomplish their tasks. And the more aware we can become of, there's another funny meme too, is like because a buddy of mine did a thing about how before every Olympic event, there was like some major catastrophe in the area of the Olympics. And that's part of this LA area. The 2028 Olympics are supposed to be down there, and they want to have this fancy city down there. And then he said, so Utah, where we live, has we have the Winter Olympics in 2034 coming to Salt Lake City. And so a buddy put out a meme. He says, Utahns preparing for the 2034 Olympics, and it had them spray painting the roof. It was a guy spray painting the roof blue. And I was like, you know what? That's maybe what we need to be doing to be prepared. I don't know. I'm just saying that the awareness will help us, and then get to the point where, one, we have the food storage we need. We have the water storage. We have the bug outs and materials in case we need to grab and go. We have the bug in materials in case we need to stay. And then build your self-reliance on your first aid, build self-reliance on your ability to protect yourself, defend yourself, whether it's with the Second Amendment or whether it's with a bow staff and nunchuck skills, or whether it's with, being able to use some hand-to-hand stuff. I believe that if things start going a little bit more, the 5G warfare we talked about in the last episode will only go so far, and then they'll have to get kinetic. Once they get kinetic, if we're prepared, we'll be able to defend ourselves. If we're totally dumbed down because of the 5G, 5G warfare that came through, we'll be so easily overcome that they won't even need to really do anything physical to capture us and enslave us. So it's important that you're preparing physically as well as spiritually and mentally for the coming stuff that's going to be revealed. And I love that we're going to have an opportunity in our country to have hope for things, but do not take away from your preps. I mean, that's the worst thing we can do.
I feel like we all just need to move to Santorini, Greece. You know
what's over there?
That's the city where all the buildings are this beautiful white and they have blue roofs.
Oh yeah,
all of them are blue. We might all become Greek again. I jokingly say that my wife's Greek, and it's on the radar to go there someday on the list. But it's beautiful. But I'm like, hey, we could all just change our architectural style to be Greek now. Big blue roofs for everybody. Because as I watched the fire videos, I mean, the same thing. Lahaina, watched the video, watched everything in California, and I saw melted cars, and then a blue Volkswagen bus, and blue recycled bins, plastic, perfectly intact. Everything around them burnt to a crisp. I might just move into a blue recycle bin. I might make my bug out vehicle a blue recycle bin. I can load a bunch of stuff in it, pull a couple of them, and we can just roll into it and just sit inside while things are going amok around us.
I don't know. I think it's a setup.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I might start investing in blue recycle bins.
Just to cover your roof with it?
Just portable living locate. Like, I don't know. It just might be the right solution. Yeah, but honestly, like, I feel like we're going to see a lot more directed energy weapons being used on the populace. The technology's there. If you go do some research, Lockheed Martin's had it for years. They got a new one from 2023. They're super stoked about it. Anything that we do know about it should tell us that there's at least 10 times that much data and information and use than what we're being told.
Mm-hmm. And usually the stuff that we see in the movies is already available, but they're not going to reveal it until it's already, like you just said, they don't want to tell us what's really going on. They want to kind of ease us into it. But I think you said a really good point earlier, Scott, like that you didn't think that we would have some of the things when you were a kid. You were like, there's no way that's going to happen in my lifetime, kind of an idea. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show how fast things can move and how fast this time frame that we're in is just going so fast. It's like I just the other day I was like, is it Wednesday already? Like, is it Saturday already? Like, how did the week go by so quickly? Mm-hmm. And of course, maybe it's because I'm 50 and I can, I'm kick and stretch, but and maybe it just moves faster once you're older, right, Shane? Once you're 50, things move a little faster when you're 50. Time does. Anyways, the reality, though, is that I think that there's a lot going on, and that's part of it, is that there's so much being thrown at us that we just get so distracted. We don't realize. We wake up kind of hypnotically and say, wait a minute, what day is it? And that if that's how good they are to get us to, that we can't even remember what day it is, or the things are going so fast, what are they slipping through on the side? Like, yep. What are they doing? Like, it really does boil down to, hey, take a look over here, guys. And then they're over here doing something different. And I think that's what's going to happen. I was listening to the Sean Ryan show, and everything that every source you get stuff from, have a little bit of trust but verify as your protocol. But I was listening to the Sean Ryan show, and she was talking about how he had this lady on there who was an anonymous. She came on. She's supposed to be the world leading expert in Afghanistan and the terrorist organizations that are coming out of there. And she's like, a lot of these guys are planning attacks in one part of a city, and then they're going to have the real attack is going to be in a completely different part of the city. But because they're going to have so much of the resources on the first attack, they're going to be able to get away with that second attack as a diversion. The first attack will be a diversion, and the second attack will be really what they want to do. And so that's where I think we need to be careful as citizens, because the first responders, the police, the fire, all those guys are going to go to that first attack. And then the citizens, I think, as citizens, we can be kind of more cognizant of, wait a minute, if all the city's first responders are over there, and there's an attack now over here, who's going to defend that? Who's going to respond to that?
That's us. And that's our job.
I think that's going to be citizens of the city, citizens of the community, that are going to band together and say, you know what, we have to step up and save our communities and save our cities and save our areas. There's a part of you that wants to run and get out of there, and that's fine if that's where you feel prompted to do. But if you want to stay and fight, I think it's important to defend yourself and not go into art fighting, not be attacking, but defending. If you're defending, you're going to be totally justified. And that's where I think that we're going to have to see a lot more people. So my suggestion is, get your Second Amendment training, learn tactical skills, learn how to clear a room, learn how to clear a building, learn how to, be, even if it's just in a paintball situation, learn how to be in a gunfight, learn how to do stuff like that, so that you can be more aware. Because I think some of that stuff, stuff's coming to America, and maybe not this year, but it's coming. I suppose it's in the scriptures, and there's a lot of chatter on a lot of these shows saying how these terrorist networks are planning things like this.
Yep. Well, and if our government and our law enforcement agencies are going to be preoccupied with removing the illegal aliens that they've now been told to start working on, right? That gives them less opportunity, less time to respond to the citizens, right?
Exactly.
Our needs, right? So we are our own help, right? We're our own rescue.
And that's going to be true of hospitals. Think about think if they inundate hospitals with a disaster, and then you've got a surgery scheduled, or you've got a normal routine, save your life type of thing, or maybe you just slip and fall and break your arm. Like, you may not be able to get to the hospital, or maybe you get to the hospital and it's so overwhelmed that you got to learn to set your own arm or do your own little bit of first aid for something. It's just, there's more than just, I think there's a lot to it. You're right, Shane.
And it's funny because there's also the threat that when an event happens, that there are so my buddy Justin was telling me this the other day. He actually posted this on his social media as well. He's like, one of the biggest problems he has as a first responder is they have to be cautious because oftentimes they'll have a secondary device to take out the first responders in that location.
Oh, wow. So
it's a layered attack that you're like, oh, what if they do something to the smoke and mirrors game that's going to be over on the other side of the town, that they're doing something, and the big incident seems to start on this side of town so that everyone's over there while they can get away scot-free on the other side of town. There's that, and the added element of a secondary device in the location where the first responders are. So you have to be more aware of what's going on and more cognizant of what are my real threats. If
they take out the first responders, then we don't have them anymore. Yeah, even if that's crazy,
right? Because then their secondary attack elsewhere can last longer and longer without check, right? There's no defense against them, so they can play the game as long as they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the big threats that we've got, besides the and I feel like the word terrorism is the wrong word. It's used and thrown around too much. What's the word for the local terrorists? Civil terrorists, right? They're just going to classify Americans that don't match their narrative and say, oh, well, then this person's a civil terrorist. They're local, but they've been weaponized against America. I don't think it's that easy. I think that's a false classification. I think there are people right now, because their reality is being so shaken, that they're going to become an unstable threat to those around them. Those are people that are going to be snapped. Go ahead.
They're easily controlled.
Yeah, they're easily controlled. They're likely to snap and do something drastic. And we've been, since the 90s, we've been turning all these little school shooters into celebrities for their 15 minutes of fame. So someone's going to say, you know what? I don't want any more of this. I'm going to go out and bang. And we're going to see more. I believe we're going to see more and more of that. And so we've got to be cautious. We've got to be aware. I love staying at home. I don't really like going anywhere. I've created a very nice, comfortable place for my family here. But the other problem is it's like you don't experience life when you're at home all the time.
Exactly.
Your life experience is very limited. And so going places, I want to go more and more places, but with less and less people, and have more direct one-on-one events with people than large group events. I want to spend more time getting to know people, really understanding and having conversations with them, and less time being in large populous areas where it's cool to be there. Clubbing doesn't matter. I don't need to be there, right? Sporting events, I don't need to be there. Huge parades, don't need to be there, right? Those are the things that I'm like, it didn't make sense to me to go to those when I was younger. And now as an adult with kids, absolutely no way am I going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have, still got more items on my list here, but one thing I wanted to really bring up before we're done, we're kind of pushing our hour here, is the narrative seems to me to be the easy way, right? Here's the easy way. Here's the convenient way. Whereas the hard way is typically the better way, right? your muscles don't get stronger if you don't exercise and you don't work them out, right? So the options that are mostly given to us here, just sit back and relax, and we'll take care of the hard work for you. I think that should be a red flag to at least alert you to something that might be going on behind the scenes, right? Sit back, relax, don't worry about it. We got this. And I think that was a big problem with the first term of Trump. And so I think if at least we're vigilant that way in looking for the hard way, I don't know if that's the right way to necessarily look at it, but the way that benefits us individually and our community, rather than just convenience or whatever those words are, right? I think it's the easy hard kind of paradigm or framework, where what you want to, whatever you want to call it, is we're given the easy choice. We need to take the hard choice.
It's so true, because if you look at the circular event of life, hard times create hard men. Hard men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. It's the same for our decisions, right? The easy decisions ultimately lead you to a harder life. And that's what they're trying to do.
Involuntarily.
Involuntarily. That's what they're trying to do, so they can then try to swoop in and say, I'm your savior. I'm going to fix everything for you, which then makes it even worse. And that's why we are where we are right now, because we've listened and said, yeah, make it easier on us.
A huge part of that is that the mentality that, like, I tell people all the time, I'm a 10-year overnight success. It took 10 years for me to build grinding my business to the point where I had a passive income that paid my bills. And now, you grow, you move to a new place, and now you have new bills. So now you got to grind again. And the idea is, though, that everybody thinks that they see the guy with the picture on the accolades. They see the guy with the trophy. They see the guy with, they watch the sporting event, the guy wins and he does, but they don't see the practice. They don't see the hours and hours of grinding and blood and sweat and tears that go into it. And so everybody thinks, well, all I got to do is go play the game and I'll show up, or all I got to do is start a business on online and I'll be a millionaire. No, you don't. And if somebody does have some quick, results where they might.
I lost you.
No, Paris froze up there.
Paris froze up. But it's interesting, because as he's talking about doing the hard work to get to where you're doing well, I think of guys like Kobe Bryant. And Shaquille shared a story about Kobe Bryant where Kobe's like, dude, you got to stay in here and work longer. And Shaquille's like, nah, I'm good. Kobe would stay after practice and do an additional set of training longer than anybody else. Yeah, longer than anybody else. And I think who we're going to see succeed in the future of America and the future of the world are the people who are taking longer and longer to practice more and more the skills for survival, the skills of making a easier life out of a hard one, right? Working hard to get what we really want and really result in the life we need and as a people should be living, because it is truly a benefit to live and eat by the sweat of our brow every day.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. That's
I know we're out of time here in a couple minutes. I would like to hear the rest of your list, even though we won't talk about them. Let's give the audience the list so we can talk about it in our group. You guys, join our group over at Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance on Facebook, and we'll continue this discussion there. But I'd like to hear yours, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great comment too. A government that can fix everything can take everything from you as well. Absolutely true. Okay, so quick list. Bird flu has been in the news. A quademic, coming lockdowns. Recession is being talked about more and more. Obviously, all these weather anomalies. Of course, interest rates continue to go up. Bank collapses are being talked about more and more in the news. Of course, cyber attack, internet outages, and so forth. Housing market, that's another big one. So those are just quick ones that we could probably take another hour to talk about as well. But just keep those on the tip of your mind, and that things are going to be happening in those areas that really need to notice, right? To make note of and try and understand what's happening so that you can make a good decision if you have if you're in that particular arena, if you're looking for a house, right? If you have medical bills. I mean, there's a lot of different things that if you have the knowledge, you can make good decisions.
Amen to that. Well, guys, thank you for participating in this week's live event. It has been awesome. We missed Paris the last 5 minutes. He's kind of froze out. And I know many of you across the United States right now are freezing, so try to stay warm. Go back and listen to our Surviving Freezing Weather podcast episode we did a few weeks ago. Make sure you also check out our friends over at survivalfrog.com and use the code PrepperTalk10 to save 10% at checkout. They have the most delicious long-term shelf-stable, not freeze-dried, not dehydrated, but ready-to-eat meats. So go check them out, survivalfrog.com, code PrepperTalk10. Thanks for tuning in this week and not tuning out. Keep that head on a swivel and that belly full, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.